morning. This is September 24th, Sunday, 2023, and we are in BBA first semester, section A English class, and this is the fifth class we are having this semester, right? And can someone tell me what we did in our fourth class? If you remember, anyone? Consult your note copies and tell me what we did in our fourth class. Quickly look at your note copies and then tell me what we did in the previous class. Someone. Can you tell what we did? One thing. Just tell one thing. What we did in previous class.
I was absent, but I guess it was argumentative essay.
Okay, you were absent. You guess it was argumentative essay. Tell what we did in previous class.
We discussed about the where we stand chapter a little bit.
We discussed about various what?
Like the chapters.
Chapters. Okay. What did we discuss in previous class?
We discussed about where do we stand.
Okay, we talked about the essay, where do we stand? What did we discuss?
We discussed about the chapter.
Which chapter?
Where do we stand?
What did we discuss in that essay?
Different culture use the personal space.
Okay, how different cultures use personal space. Okay. So what I will do in this class today is, let's write what we do as we read something. So when we have a text to read, it has a given knowledge on a topic. The text has given knowledge on a topic. For example, the text we are going to read now is, where do we stand? And this text was written, let's check. When was it written? Someone tell me. Which year was it written? 1990. It was written in 1990. That means about 33 years ago. Right? So don't you think the world changes a lot in 33 years? So the information we have might be outdated, or I'm not sure. The world has changed a lot in 33 years. So what Lisa Davis says in this essay might need a critical review to check if even today those things can be true. So we have a given knowledge. Now, we will read that given knowledge, and the first thing we do is we remember what we read. We remember what we read. You get recorded when you come late on camera, and when it goes on YouTube, people watch and know you came late. It has a plus point, it has a negative point. I use the camera as, in a sense, you may be angry, but the camera works as a policing device. It controls you because you know everything is being recorded and you are cautious. When you come late, you get recorded. I'm sorry for that. That's a good thing, that's a bad thing, because we know who came late that day. Okay, remember what we read. The first thing we do, we read and we remember. If we cannot remember what we read, it's useless coming to college. We won't develop in life. Memory is an essential part of life. Now, once you remember, how do you make sure that you remember? How do you tell people that you are remembering what you read? So what you do is, you summarize or outline what you read. You summarize or outline what you read or what you read. Now, if you can properly summarize what you read, if you can reproduce a good summary of anything you read, that makes sure that you understand what you read. If you have not understood a text, you will not be able to summarize it properly. So at college, even in life, summary is a very significant skill. Overall, writing is fundamental skill in life. I was talking to my son yesterday on Messenger, and he shared a document that his friend gave him to edit, and he was seeking my help. He said, "Daddy, you teach English, so could you help me edit this English document?" It was a proposal for maybe scholarship. And even I could not help him much as expected. And then we had talk. And then at one point he says, "Daddy, after coming to US, I realized that the skill of writing is very significant. If you can write properly, you get a lot of things in life." And I'm conveying this message to you because I know many of you tomorrow you will aspire to go to foreign countries. So understand that if you are able to write, you have good times. So summarizing is one good writing skill. And when you summarize, you make sure that you have understood what you read. Now, next, you know that you understand now. What do you do next? You interpret what you have read. You interpret. In summary, you never express your view. When you summarize, never write what you feel. Just write what you think the author is saying. Summary is outline in black and white of what a writer says, not what you say. I repeat again. Whenever somebody says summarize something, never mix your opinion in your summary. Summaries are never your views. When you summarize something, just tell in black and white outline what the author is saying. The main points, not what you think. In interpretation, I'll deal later in detail. Right now I'm just pointing out what we're supposed to do. I'll move ahead before I talk about this thing. You interpret. Now, to interpret, in order to interpret, what do you need to do? Let me write here. 4, okay. I know you're alert, right? That's good to see that you're paying attention. Okay. You analyze what you read. You analyze. What is analysis? I told you last time. Analysis is seeing the components of something. If I analyze this class, I might focus on the physical structure of the class, the size, length and breadth. Then I may focus on hygiene in this class, and I can say there are windows on both sides, so we have cross airflow. Then I can talk about how many doors are there, how many windows, the size of windows, curtains, physical structure. Then I can talk about seating pattern, is it good or bad, comfortable, uncomfortable, right? Then I can talk about technology in the class. We have a desktop there, we have projector, we have fans, lights, and then I can talk about this paraphernalia, camera, tripod, everything, laptop. What I'm doing, I'm focusing on each component of this classroom analysis. So you focus on components. Second, in analysis, it's not enough to focus on components. You also try to say in what sense those components are important here. I said earlier that when I keep my camera turned on, it works as a police personnel guarding, watching you, what you're doing. Now, I'm talking significance, right? So you analyze what you read. You look at parts and you look at how they fit together. Okay. You analyze, and what you understand after analysis, you synthesize. In synthesis, you bring together what others are saying and then make your view. So you will see that as we move down, things become more complicated, more challenging. So you synthesize, you analyze, then you synthesize. Once you read others' views and make your own view, then finally you evaluate, you judge, you pass a judgment, right? You see how useful something is. You see how relevant something is. You see how useful something is. You see where the writer might have gone wrong. You see where you disagree with the author. You see what claims the author is making. And you see what reasons and evidences is the author bringing. What counter arguments you can make. And does the author respond to these counter arguments you can come up? Now this is more challenging. Evaluating something is really challenging. If you can evaluate properly something you have developed. And it's not only about English class. This is the learning goal in every subject. Why have you come to Kathmandu University? Why do you go to any university? Why do you go to college? You go to college to learn these things. Whether it's economics, the same thing applies. Then finally, apply your knowledge in a different situation. Apply your knowledge in a different situation to solve a problem. Why do we get educated? Because we want to make our life easier. I got a degree, so I earn enough money and my life is easier. If I had not got a degree, today I'll be around Kalimati as a porter carrying a load. I don't mean that's a bad job, that's a good job, but that's a different job. Right? One example, my example is inappropriate. My point is that when you get educated, life becomes easier because you solve problems. Education gives you ideas and resources to solve the challenges of life. You girls, if you are educated, you will not have multiple abortions, for example. Because you know the consequences of abortion. Whereas in villages where girls are not educated many times, you can see a 14-year-old girl becomes a mother. You won't be a mother, I guess, before 25, 30, because you're educated. If you become a mother at 14, life becomes complicated. You become a mother only when you finish your education, get a job. My daughter, look, she did masters in law. She was not ready to get married. She got married when she finished her law. And now she's not having children yet. And she says, I have to settle my career before I have children. Look, all this is because of education. If she was not educated, she will be married by the time she reaches high school. And by the time she reaches plus 2, she will have children. And her life will be, body will be complicated. So education gives you solutions to the problems of life. How? Because we learn these things. Then finally, you create new knowledge. And that new knowledge somebody picks up and they do the same process. Now let's apply these things to the essay. Where do we stand? By Lisa Davis. Have you read the essay? Today I'm demonstrating you. In next chapter, I will be down there and I'll be calling you here. And I'll ask you to do the same thing I'm doing. I know it's difficult, but you will learn gradually. For the first chapter, I'll do everything in detail. You'll feel comfortable. You are the listener, audience. From second chapter, I'll be the audience. You'll be the presenter. Okay. So, one idea can be, one way to summarize. So, first thing we do is remember what we do, right? We are applying this idea, remembering what we read. And how do we remember? By summarizing. So, let's write summarizing or outlining. There are many ways to summarize or outline. There are many ways. Let's try our own way. So what I'll do, I'll go paragraph wise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, okay. There are 18 paragraphs. So I'm developing a framework to summarize my own way, right? Let me pick up the book. Now, so these are paragraph numbers. Let's draw a line here and ask a question. What do we do when we summarize? Let's ask a question. What do we do when we summarize? What do we summarize? Before we answer the question, what do we summarize? Let's say there is a paragraph. Let's say this one. I wish I could project you, but it will take time. Yeah? Pardon?
We summarize the image.
You summarized?
Image.
I didn't get you. Yes.
We summarize the image at first.
Okay. You mean, do we summarize the image as well? Do you mean? I'm still getting you. Can you clearly say what do you want to say?
Like at first we look at this.
Okay,
image
yes, that's a good idea. I said last time, right? You're good, you're correct. But when I said first look at the picture, I was saying about the opening of the chapter. Because in the opening chapter, purposefully the editors set a picture before they start the text. But here the picture is not in the opening, it's somewhere in the middle. So we will look at the picture after we read the paragraph, because it comes below the paragraph. First we'll read, then we'll look at the picture. Okay. When you read a paragraph, look for two things. A paragraph has an idea and it has some details, right? Now this idea, when you summarize, look for the idea and ignore the details. The technique of summary is look for the idea and ignore the details. Sometimes if you feel the detail is very important, you can bring, but normally in summaries we omit details. What are details? An example is a detail. If the sentence says, for example, ignore the sentence. For instance, ignore the sentence. Statistics are details. If there is a number, ignore the number. Anecdote, stories are details. If there is a story in the paragraph, ignore the story. Reasons are details. If there is because, ignore the sentence. Ignore statistics from the paragraph in summary. Do not summarize data. Do not summarize data. Do not summarize stories if there is one. Ignore. Do not summarize facts. Obvious truths. Don't summarize, that anybody knows. Do not summarize examples. And do not summarize reasons. I said do not summarize details. Always pick up the idea. Now what is an idea? Idea is an idea. I don't know how to explain that. An idea is, let's say, something that you can talk about. If I say teenage bike accidents. Now this is an idea you can talk about. You can talk about half an hour on this idea. If I say unsafe pregnancy and abortions at teenage. Now this is an idea. You can talk about 10 pages, 20 pages. If I say love and crime, this is an idea you can talk about. If I say democracy, this is an idea you can talk about. But if I say Nepal is a democracy, that's an example. That's an example. So you should be able to differentiate between ideas and details. But please understand that what comes as detail is also idea. But how do you know which ideas are ideas, which idea details? The very easy way is, if an idea is supported, if an idea is supported by another idea, if an idea is supported by another idea, this is the idea that you should pick up. And that another idea which is used to support the idea, that's the detail, leave it. The idea being supported is important. The idea used to support something is not important. The support is detail. That's why we call supporting detail. We call it supporting detail. Okay. Now let's do this. Let's read the first paragraph. Nothing happens unless you read. Nothing happens unless you read. So I'll read for you. Call it the dance of the jet set, the diplomat's tango. A man from the Middle East, say, falls into conversation with an American becomes animated, takes a step forward. The American makes a slight postural adjustment, shifts his feet, edges backward, a little more talk, and the Arab advances, a little more talk, and the American retreats. By the end of the cocktail party, quotation, says Middle East expert Peter Bechtold, an authority of the State Department's Foreign Service Institute, you have an American in each corner of the room because that is as far as they can back up. In writing, you put a question, what it says, then how does it say what it says? Para 1. Let me summarize. Two people coming from two different cultures may have misunderstanding as they interact in a space. I'm trying. Two people coming from two different cultures may have misunderstanding if they happen to interact in a space. This is the idea. This is what the author says. This is what the author says. This is the what. Now ask a question. Ask a question. How does he say? How does he say? Look the answer. Lisa Davis portrays a dramatic scene. She portrays a dramatic scene. Look the first sentence, and then the second sentence, then the third sentence, almost the 5 sentences, all sentences portray the drama in this paragraph. Second, you will see what she does is, Lisa Davis quotes an authority to back up her point. So what does she say? If two people belonging to two different cultures happen to come together and interact in a space, they might have misunderstanding. They might have misunderstanding. This is the idea. And detail, what is the detail? There is a scene as a detail. See the scene. Call it the dance of the jet set, the diplomat's tango. A man from the Middle East, say, falls into conversation with an American, becomes animated, takes a step forward. Now, if you see details, what details or examples he gives? She brings an Arab, then she brings an American, having conversation, right? The Arab steps forward, the American backs up, and finally, where does the American end up? In the corner. The first paragraph does not say it clearly, But do you see, by the time you read that there is an American in each corner, you clearly can sense that a problem is arising there. Didn't you realize? By the time you read this first paragraph, you start thinking, oh, something bad will happen here. Because the Americans are pushed into the corner. So when you summarize, leave this thing, don't include, leave this thing, don't include, leave this thing, don't include, leave it, don't include, leave it, don't include. Include this idea. Now the problem is, in my experience with you people teaching you 10 years, many of you are not able to understand this thing as you read. You read and you are not able to understand what's going on. Why this happens? Because I'm sorry to say, up to grade 12, I do not know if your teachers made you read or they read for you. They read for you. If your teachers read for you in class, it was a bad thing. If they made you read in class, it was a good thing. Many of you are good, excellent readers, I know. Some of you have problems. Okay. Now, let me erase this. And let's move to paragraph 2. But before I move to paragraph 2, let me point at something in paragraph 1 which you should pay attention to. We are reading academic writing. These essays are examples of what kind of writing? Academic writing. And academic writing has certain characteristics that you should understand as we read the essays. One characteristic of academic writing is that writers make a point, then they bring a support to back up their point. And one way to support your point is you cite someone to support what you're saying. For example, in this paragraph, in line number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes. A little more talk and Arab advances, a little more talk and the American retreats. By the end of the cocktail party, says Middle East expert Peter Bechtold. Look what authority is brought. Middle East expert, what's his name? Peter Bechtold. What does he belong to? State Department's Foreign Service. Now look, in academic writing, writers will often quote statements by other people. And these other people, you will find that they will be authorities, scholarly people who have knowledge on the topic. For example, she is quoting Middle East expert, means Peter Bechtold has good knowledge about how Middle East people use space. Peter Bechtold is a consultant. Peter Bechtold is a trainer. Peter Bechtold is an expert on multicultural issues. He is a trainer. And Lisa Davis quotes his statement to support her idea that when two people from two different cultures come and use space, they have misunderstanding. Lisa Davis' idea, when two people come together in an interaction, there may be misunderstanding. That's Lisa Davis' idea. And she brings Peter Bechtold to support that idea. In academic writing, you make your idea, like Lisa Davis makes her idea, that if two people belonging to two different cultures happen to interact in an international scenario, they may end up with confusion and misunderstanding. Davis' idea. Then, once you express your idea, you bring other people's opinion to support your idea. So Lisa Davis says, it's not only me saying this. Look what Peter Bechtold says. And she quotes. She quotes. You can bring other people's ideas in 4 ways. These are very important things to understand. 1, you can summarize their idea. 2nd, you can paraphrase their idea. Or you can quote their idea. What is she doing in this paragraph? Is she summarizing or paraphrasing or quoting? She is quoting. She is quoting. And when you quote someone's idea, what do? How do you indicate? You put the statement within inverted comma. Right? Okay. Look, reading is quite challenging. Reading is quite... I know many of you are feeling bored now. I know. You don't have patience, right? Now we'll move to 2nd paragraph and read it carefully and then summarize 2nd paragraph, main idea. Okay. What do you do when an amiable chat leaves one person feeling vaguely bullied, the other unaccountably chilled? The sentence says, what do you do? Focus on this you. Who is this you? Who is this you? This you is the audience. This you is the reader. This you is you. This you is you in one sense. In another sense, this you is all Americans who visit foreign countries and have interaction. This essay was primarily written for American readers, not for us. So the viewpoint in this essay is an American viewpoint. Lisa Davis herself is an American. Peter Bechtold is an American. Almost all authorities she brings in other paragraphs, they are American. And in this essay, she is trying to train the Americans about how to behave when they go to other countries. So this essay has American perspective. Okay? Then read ahead. What do you do when an amiable chat leaves one person feeling vaguely bullied, the other unaccountably chilled? What kind of sentence is this? This is an interrogative sentence that puts a question, right? Things would be simpler if these jet setters were speaking different language. They would just get themselves a translator, but the problem is a little tougher because they are using different language of space. Paragraph ends. So now summarize the second paragraph. It's difficult because when you summarize, you don't use the same word in the paragraph. When you summarize, you do not use same words as in the paragraph. You do not use same sentence structure as in the paragraph. Summarizing means being able to say the same thing but using different words. So let's again. So what do you do when an amiable chat leaves one person feeling vaguely bullied, the other unaccountably chilled? Things would be simpler if these jet setters were speaking different language. They would just get themselves a translator. But the problem is a little tougher because they are using different language of space. Okay, second paragraph. Misunderstandings arising out of how two people from two different cultures use space are difficult to identify and solve. Look what I did. I said the gist of the paragraph using my own words. The challenge for you is that many times I see that you are not able to see the same thing in different language. There are two reasons. One, many of you do not understand what you read. Not everyone, many people. Second, you understand what you read, but you are not able to use different words to say the same thing because your vocabulary is poor. You don't have good word knowledge, right? So she says that misunderstandings arising out of how two people from two different cultures use space are difficult to identify and solve. Now this is what she says. This is what she says. Now how does she say? She gives example that the American feels bullied, whereas the Arab feels chilled. In summary, ignore this how. In summary, ignore this how. Just focus on what. So do you see how difficult it is to summarize? People think that summaries are easy. You can go to ChatGPT. I know at home you can summarize using ChatGPT, Bing, anything, but that will destroy you. If you use internet to solve the problems I give you, note down, you will be completely destroyed. You won't be able to do anything in future. So never use internet and AIs to solve the problems I give you. Do it on your own. If your AI summarizes, you won't be learning this skill. You do your own summary. Look, am I using AI here? No. Did I bring AI summary in my laptop? No. I am doing it on my own. Yeah. Never depend on internet to read and understand. Do it on your own. Please, I am reminding you. We have technology today that can do anything for you, right? But do not use that. Do it on your own. Now let's go to third paragraph and see what's in third paragraph. We are summarizing. Third. Next page. Everyone who has ever felt cramped in a crowd knows that the skin is not the body's only boundary. We each wear a zone of privacy like a hoop skirt, inviting others in or keeping them out with body language. By how closely we approach at the angle at which we face them, the speed with which we break a gaze, it's a subtle code, but one we use and interpret easily, indeed automatically, having absorbed the vocabulary from the infancy. The moment I finish reading, my mind quickly finds out the main idea, because I am better than you people because I've been teaching, right? But that may not be the case with you. You finish reading and main idea doesn't come. The main idea here, look here. Everyone has a zone of privacy around their bodies. Everyone has a zone of privacy around their bodies. From culture to culture, it differs how close you allow others to come. If you are in a nightclub, for example, dancing, and then you will allow the boys to come closer to you because it's a nightclub. If you are in a temple, for example, in the morning for worship, you won't allow other boys to come closer to you. The same girl or boy, when goes into a nightclub partying, She doesn't mind when somebody brushes up against you. Even you don't mind when somebody hugs you. Because you have gone to nightclub to enjoy the party. The same girl or boy, when queued up in front of a temple, if somebody touches you, you look back and you stare at them. And you mind, you tell them. Kinchoeko, you say. The same girl or boy, while traveling in a microbus around Ratna Park, when the conductor says, get in, get in, get in, you don't mind when somebody touches you. You don't mind. Because you know it's a crowded bus. But the same girl or boy, while walking the corridor in the college, if somebody, without being invited, touches you, you mind. We all have zone of privacy. Skin is not the only boundary. Meaning is, you don't differentiate you and other people from skin. You don't allow people to touch you. There is, what is, now how does love, this is what? This is the what? Right? Now, how does he say it? In this paragraph. She uses a metaphor. She uses a metaphor. What metaphor? Look here. The metaphor that she uses is, okay, she talks about a hoop skirt. What is hoop skirt? A long, full skirt supported by a series of connected hoops or rings popular in the late 1850s. If you watch Hollywood movies, especially classical movies, you will see young girls will be walking around in skirts that has umbrella-like structure. And then the slender girls will need bigger area to walk around, right? They have umbrella-like structure. And the point is that, suppose the girl is dancing in a party with a hoop skirt and she has her boyfriend around. Now, she will allow, I'm sorry, take it easy, she will allow that boyfriend to get in the skirt because he is a boyfriend and she won't mind him touching the body. And if suppose there is another guy that's not a boyfriend, so how does she keep him away? Because she keeps him away by the hoop skirt. You are not supposed to press the hoop skirt. So what does the hoop skirt do? It creates a boundary. You allow people you like and love, they get in. You don't allow people you don't like and love. So see the example. How does she say? She uses a metaphor. She uses a metaphor of hoop skirt. What does she say? What does she say? Every individual has a zone of privacy. How does she say? Using a metaphor. So always ask two questions whenever you read something. First question, what is this paragraph trying to say? Note down. Second question, how is this paragraph saying what it says? If you are summarizing, ignore the how. Ignore the how and pay attention to what. And please understand that to do such thing, it requires intelligence that you will develop slowly, right? It requires competency, reading competency. We call it reading competency. How competent you are to read. And reading, say, there are 4 things with language that you should develop. You should be an excellent listener. I used to use a headphone and listen to BBC, watch BBC in front of a mirror. And I'll listen to the news reader, anchors, and I will try to read the news myself in front of a mirror. A practice. Be a good listener. Second, be a good speaker. We cannot be like native speakers, but speak all the time. Speak as much as possible. In class, insist on speaking English. At the corridor, insist on speaking English because you are learning. We all love mother tongues. I speak 5 languages. My mother tongue is Nepali. We all love mother tongues. But here we are learning English. So insist on using English as much as possible during college studies. Third, read a lot. And read aloud. In the beginning, read aloud to check your pronunciation. As you read aloud, your mind consciously observes your reading, and if you are misreading, mispronouncing, your mind tells you, oh, here is mispronunciation, you correct. Then, write a lot. Writing is the least thing we do in life. Do you realize? We write only when somebody pushes you in the exam hall, closes the door, gives you a question paper, and says you can't leave before 3 hours. Then you have to write. And you write. Oh God, there is no option. We write only when there is no option. That's why we are probably very poor in writing. So, listening, speaking, reading, writing. Plus, today there is another skill demanded highly, the skill of presentation. How good you are at dressing, how good you are at eye contact, how good you are at controlling audience, how good you are at analyzing data, how good you are at making slides, how good you are at speaking to people in public gatherings and making presentations. Good presenters today are paid high. Right? These are called interpersonal communication skills. What do we call them? Communication skills. And if you don't have these skills, your grades won't matter. Nobody checks your grades first. They check how you behave. Right? Okay, move ahead. And we have 5 minutes time. Let's move to para 4. We are learning how to summarize. At least we assume we are reading it right. But from culture to culture, from group to group, within a single country, even between the sexes, the language of space has distinctive accents, confusing umlauts that leaves a lot of room for misinterpretation. And the stakes have gotten higher as business has become increasingly international and populations multicultural. So, a new breed of consultants has appeared in the last few years, interpreting for globetrotters of all nationalities the meaning and use of personal space. Now, I'm coming toward the end of the class, but before I leave, I should tell you something very significant here. Okay, what controls the body? What controls the body? Brain. What controls the brain? You said the brain controls the body. I agree. What controls the brain? Heart. If the heart fails to pump blood to the brain, your brain will collapse within 3 minutes. It's not the brain that controls your body, it's the heart. Just imagine your heart stops pumping the blood, and look what will happen. The brain won't get oxygen because there is no flow of blood. It's not the brain. It's not the brain. It's the heart. Don't you agree? So everything in the body is controlled by the heart. In an essay also, there is a heart. If that heart fails, the essay fails. And that heart controls the whole essay. What is that heart? What is the heart of the essay? What is the heart? Look, if you had watched my video, you will be able to answer my question, because in that video I explain everything. That's what I'm saying. Watch the videos. I know they are not shorts. My videos are not romantic shorts. They are not glamorous shorts. They are academic content. Right? They are intended to make you learn something. Okay. So the heart of the essay is called the thesis statement. And I am leaving with an assignment. There are 5 videos in the series I uploaded yesterday. In one of the videos, I answer this question: what is a thesis statement? Your job is go home this afternoon, have a breakfast, have a food, then relax for a while, and then watch my video and answer this question and mail me before you come to college tomorrow. So you will watch my video and find out where I explain para 4. Find the video where I explain paragraph 4. Because in that video I beautifully explain what is a thesis statement. and then write an answer. What do you mean by a thesis statement? 1 paragraph, 2 paragraph, and scan and mail me. Understand, everything you are mailing, I preserve safely, and it counts for an internal evaluation.
So
Any questions before? Yes.
we need to download a CamScan app. Whether like we can make videos and send you.
You can use any other software. I use scanner.
Sounds good.
It's better use the same software, everyone, because I'll have easy time. And never mail me an image, please. Never mail me an image. One rule. Second, always mail an attachment file. 2 rules. Mail a PDF file and attach the file before you mail. Any questions you ask me? Any questions? So in today's class, what we did is we made a note about learning objectives, and we began with the first summarizing, and we read first 3 paragraphs, and we said when we summarize, we focus on what and we ignore how. And we said writing has main idea and it has supporting details. And main ideas can come as data, statistics, it can come as a story, it can come as fact, it can come as an example, it can come as reason. And we can ignore details when we summarize, we focus on main idea. And we read and we said when we summarize, we don't use same words as in the original text. We use another words and we use a new sentence structure. And we saw how summarizing is really challenging, because you cannot summarize unless you understand. You cannot summarize unless you... Any questions? So I'll upload the video by the evening. You can watch. Thank you so much. And I'll close the camera and say something.